I'm recording this because the survivors no longer envy the dead. The final war is over. Its architects forever enjoyed melted glass and steel. I watched the efforts of our species dance away on the radioactive wind. Civilization retreated by millennia. All of human history brought to dust. Our cities, now scorched black mausoleums, serve as a reminder there can be no victory in war. Earth is the answer to the question of our mortality. With resolute defiance, we choose to grasp at the delicate thread of life. My son, the gift of survival is yours. Please, may you never submit. There will be more.
This is it. We are on our own. The air is clear. Welcome home. We're headed straight for oblivion, but we're gonna make it. Whatever it takes. I just wanna be with you.
Willkommen zurück auf Schalke America and more importantly, of Victory Monday. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, Jack Mangan. Jack, happy Victory Monday.
Happy Victory Monday to you as well, sir. No better way to start the season than a Victory Monday, of course, although we're hoping that the remainder of the season goes better than last year when we also had a Victory Monday, and a more emphatic one at that, but arguable. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to get into your thoughts and how you're feeling after that first performance. You and I were, at least me, certainly, fairly negative, kind of on our season preview pod last week, but potentially some reasons to be a little bit more optimistic after match day one here.
Yeah, I see that in the chat, Ronald is much more hopeful for the season. He's saying we're winning the Pokal, we're winning the whole league. So hey, we go for the double. Why not? I'm not sure I'm that optimistic because I usually do that and then we pay for it. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm happy that we won. I think this year's Victory Monday is more impressive than last year's, just because the opponent, Hertha, was one of the favorites going into the year. How we feel about them now is maybe different versus Braunschweig, who we knew was going to be a bottom feeder. So plus, the hype with Muslic seems real at the moment, but we can get into it more, see how that ends up being. But I'm excited. Let's talk about the rundown for tonight. Before we get to the match review, we're going to talk about the Knappenschmiede very quickly because they had some games this weekend. We'll talk about ESPN Plus very quickly because it leads into our matches this season. We'll review the match and then talk some team news to get into this. So, yeah, it's definitely want to get into the game. I do, because lots to talk about. But let's get into the Knappenschmiede real quick, just to give an update on people what's going on with the team and stuff like that. U19s, they played this weekend. They beat Gladbach 5-2. You had Tubic with 2 goals, Bacchus, Voser, and Westenberger. Good victory there. We couldn't get the double with U23s. U23s would draw against Paderborn 1-1, but Knappenschmiede getting off to a good start. It seems like with the youth teams. Thoughts on certainly the victory for the U19s, but both games, I guess, overall.
We love a Ben Bala goal. Happy about that. And then, yeah, look, emphatic one for the U19. So I haven't watched either of these games. I don't know if there's recordings on YouTube that I can maybe grab at some point, or highlights. But love to see the youth setups getting off to a hot start as well. So it's kind of good vibes all across the board.
Yes, indeed. It was a good victory. Good to see that happen. And you when you see the youth team perform the way they do, you hope the men's team could perform like that. We obviously know that they did this weekend. So let's get into before we get to the game, I guess last year and previous years in Zweite Liga, we've all, at least in the States, this side of the pond, maybe not so much Canada because they got Dazen, but at least in the United States, we've had issues with trying to watch the games. ESPN Plus had a game here and there once in a while, not necessarily always Schalke, very rarely Schalke, it seems like. And if we did have a game, we had some technical issues for some reason. It's very frustrating. So we all had to find these illegal streams to kind of watch the game or listen on the radios, whether in German or some other stream. But friend of the show, Derek Ray, just before the kickoff of the season says ESPN Plus will be picking up all Zweite Liga games, not necessarily all of them live, but you can watch them on demand. I'm obviously very skeptical of this, Jack. I don't know how you feel about this, but if you take Derek Ray for what he says, and we all love Derek Ray, this is excellent news for the Zweite Liga and for us who've been in the States who've been trying to watch this forever. Thoughts on ESPN Plus and this new deal that Derek Ray announced?
Yeah, you were saying just before the show, you'll believe it when you see it, which I don't blame you based on how things have gone at times. So there's been some spotty coverage and whatnot. I mean, look, if that's actually the case and ends up being what they do, even if it's only on demand, I don't care if it's live. As long as I can watch a replay on demand, that's incredible. As you mentioned, last season we were resigned to trying to watch the majority of these live on various spotty streams that existed. It resulted in me missing a bunch of matches for the first time in like 10 years, where I haven't seen all the games that Schalke played in the season. So it was it's just difficult because you have to be available at 6 a.m. every single time regardless of travel or anything else you have going on. So yeah, regardless. Anyway, I think that'd be huge. And I think it's great in general too, because I think what you and I have seen over the past couple of seasons. Look, we're not happy to be down in the second division, but I think we've seen this is actually a great league. That's worth watching, and it puts out a good product, and it makes sense if ESPN holds the rights to that to make more of that available and put more of that on display. And once again, Schalke's massive, man. Dude, seeing the support and some of the images, pre-match and also throughout the match, and just hearing the fans and everything, literally almost made me emotional. You fall in love with the club again. Like it's honestly incredible. Like the fan support and the draw and the atmosphere they're able to create and everything. And it's really unfortunate that so many of those match days weren't available for people to connect with or see last year. If we weren't, the featured match of the weekend or whatever. So the fact that there's an opportunity for Schalke to be at least available on demand every single weekend is awesome. Not just for us, I think, but it's great for the league and for German football. So
Yeah,
about that.
it's absolutely it's amazing to have the league available at our fingertips. All majority of second divisions are actually very entertaining, and in particular this Zweite Liga. And the fact that we hadn't been able to watch, even though the rights, like you said, belonged to ESPN, was discerning, but finally got it. Possibly, I'm gonna watch it weekly to make sure this holds up. But so far, so good. 1-for-1. We actually had the top spiel, obviously the only game going on Friday, and good segue there as we got a comment here. I'll lose my mouse here for a second. Paul's in the house. Glück auf. Hey, I see TMWX. I say, how are you? Shout out to everyone in the chat. Ronald, TM, Paul, everyone watching on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you're watching. Shout out to all you guys. Glück auf. Happy Victory Monday. Let's get into the match. First, the road team in Hertha Berlin, a team that a lot of people were dubbing maybe one of the favorites. This league we talked about this in the lead up to the season, how there really was no clear-cut favorite. But if there was a team that a lot of people's eyes were on, it was Hertha Berlin. And so looking at the starting lineup for them, in goal they had Ernst, and they had in the back they had Ziefwick, Leisner, and Dardai. Notable names. In midfield you had Eichberger, Michael Cuisance, love that name, Deme and Kvartnik. And then in the attack you had Kratenberger, David Kovnatski, and Fabian Riese. Jack, what do we always say when there is a former Schalke player? What's going to happen? Or what do we have to worry about?
Them scoring against us. It's not a certainty, but it's a near certainty. I'd say we're probably at a 75% hit rate. I don't know. I'd have to go back and do the math on it over the years, but it seems like it happens more often than not. So I'm very concerned. Yeah, we were very concerned about Fabian Riese, particularly as it pertains to Gantenbein on the right-hand side.
And it's another reason too, not just because he's a former Schalke player, but Fabian Riese is actually one of the better players in the league. Last year he had a breakout year, scored some fantastic goals, most notably against Schalke, but other teams as well. And so he's obviously a threat. And then we talked about this last week, how Fabian Riese is probably going to feast against Gantenbein because you'd rather have Bullet instead of Gantenbein, considering how their past was defensively. So when the lineups came out, it had some people. Had me worried a little bit here. Schalke will win every trophy with Muslic, maybe. Felix, good to see you. Everyone, there's a lot of people in the chat tonight excited, obviously, for Victory Monday. But looking at the lineup in this one to start the game, obviously, Karius is going to be the starter in this one. Back three of Felipe Sanchez, Nikola Katic, and Timo Becker, who is a captain in this game with no Keenan Karaman. We'll get to him in a second. Midfield, you did have Gantenbein on the right-hand side. You had Vitaly Becker on the left. In the middle, you had Schallenberg and El Faouzi. And then up top, you had Atuaje, Remmert, and then Musa Silla. Unexpected win, unexpected formation, Jack. What about this formation drew your interest?
Yeah, I mean, whether you want to call it a 5-2-3 or 3-4-2-1, as you said, sort of nominally. I mean, it's kind of what we expected in terms of what we've seen from Muslic throughout preseason and also earlier in his career in terms of liking that that link of three at the back in terms of the center backs. In terms of the lineup itself, outside of the shape, in terms of just the selections, I mean, there's a lot to talk about for sure. I mean, one, we know that Karaman's unavailable because of injury. So that's sort of the main omission from the squad, I think you would say, in terms of injury. After that, Bullet not starting as well would probably be in terms of star players from last season, another, those are kind of the two main people. Obviously, Karaman not available. Bullet ended up getting a brief cameo at the end there. But Becker, captaincy sort of, in the lineup right away. Katic, your big signing, somebody from the coach is familiar with from Plymouth Argyle, straight away, center of the defense. And then Sanchez, the international man of mystery from last year, who came over with much pomp and circumstance, and then just sort of was a non-factor and anonymous for much of the season. We obviously been seeing in the preseason that he's been more involved and gets the start right here. You get Becker making his professional debut on the left-hand side. Gantenbein on the right-hand side, who we've talked about. Schallenberg in the middle, who we know, and then of course El Fayouzi as well. Making his sort of Schalke debut in a meaningful match, essentially kind of paired up with Schallenberg there, and then Antwiadji on the left, Remmert on the right, Silla up top. Remmert sometimes more central depending on what. So it was interesting to me that he's out on the right, but he's a super athletic guy, very versatile. So has the pace and whatever to cover some ground and be effective on the wings as well, not just centrally. But so yeah, I thought it was interesting. There's a lot of either new players or players that haven't made a lot of an impact previously being thrown into the fire right away against, like you said, like an opponent that we expected to be potentially troublesome. What did you make of things going into it?
Yeah, you hit a lot of things on the head right there. And I think, what we heard from Muslic, which kind of showed with this starting 11, is that like he takes practices seriously. Many coaches, some coaches did, it's just a practice. It doesn't really impact the game. Muslic says you practice hard, you play, you perform well, you're going to get rewarded. He said Remmert been performing well, had 5 goals in preseason, so he's going to reward him, obviously. Many people have thought that the midfield duo was going to be Schallenberg and Gruger. Gruger obviously had another fan. You talk about Bullet having a great year last year. Gruger had a pretty good year last year, and so everyone's automatically thinking Bullet and Gruger are going to be inserted into the lineup, and they're on the bench, right? You got El Fayouzi, who's a guy who's a playmaker. You figured he was going to try to get in the lineup, but maybe up top, and no, he's in the middle, kind of dictating the play, becoming like a playmaker. You love seeing that little wrinkle there, and then Remmert, love seeing him in there. A lot more pace than I expected. When I saw him in there, I was like, okay, I thought maybe Silla was going to be on the wing, but you saw mostly Remmert there, and like you said, he was Trensley as well. And then Gantenbein on the right, and when I saw Gantenbein, I was like, oh man, here we go. I knew, and I overreacted, full knowing that I analyzed Muslic prior to coming into the season, and Muslic likes to solidify the defense by stacking it with 5 in defense, 4 in the midfield, kind of really making sure giving protection to that goalkeeper. Despite knowing that, I still was like, Gantenbein's out there against Riesa. Oh my goodness. Now the one good caveat that went in our favor for Hertha Berlin, you had Fabian Riesa up top instead of on the wing, so he's more centralized at that point. So, the back three, I thought this is a perfect formation for Felipe Sanchez. He's not there isolated in the middle with another defender. He's got 2 other guys, 2 experienced guys with him. Right, and then he's got Vitaly Becker who can come out and help him there, and obviously you have Schallenberg, who's also played center back last year, but he's a midfielder by trade, and so he's got coverage there. He can be a little more comfortable. I think Cisse, when he had this opportunity against Hamburg a couple years ago, didn't have that protection, and so he kind of got exposed. Sanchez, treat him with kid gloves right now, and he performed very well. But this lineup overall, I was surprised, and again, you see, Højlund. Højlund's the guy we thought maybe would start, maybe injury-wise, he didn't start. Ihan is a name. Maybe they thought he would start over Katic or Sanchez. It didn't. He came on in relief. Obviously, you have the GOAT in there, and Salazar and Hamach, some guys that are going to be interesting for us this season. So, yeah, I love what I saw there in the lineup. A little wrinkle. Wasn't sure what to expect. Expected this. I wasn't worried, like I said, but we started out very well. Obviously, the choreography, the tifo before the game was excellent. And then, as the game started off early on, for me, one of the first things I noticed right away, outside of the pressing by us, Jack, it's Remmert. Remmert, I knew was a big guy. I knew he had a knack for getting in front of the goal, but his pace is what deceived me more than anything else. And all of a sudden, you see that they're, when they go for the long balls, he's the target man. Silla's obviously not that big; he can't get those air balls. Remmert can, but he's also pacey. He can. They're trying to go for him on these runs, which unexpected for me, Jack. I mean, what did you make of the opening minutes there with the pressure by Schalke?
Yeah, Remmert, super physical in all of his aerial challenges and other things. Like I said, yeah, he's able to cover a decent amount of ground, obviously, despite being super strong and large and whatnot. And there was an opportunity fairly early into the match, somewhere probably in the first 20 minutes or whatever, where on more of kind of a counter where Silla got pulled left into kind of like the space sort of between the wing and that whatever, and then Remmer is able to slide in centrally, and the ball ends up kind of coming back to him, and he's just he doesn't score anything, but like he's holding off his defender, and he's able to get centrally and then kind of uses physicality in the box there too. So I mean, flexibility in terms of those situations. So yeah, good to see from him. What struck me right off the bat was just something we talked about last pod too, was just the verticality, which I personally love, because like that's just my personal bias in the game. Is I like that too. And when I'm watching the screen and we have runners, or there's moments where you can play a ball with a certain timing and with a certain pace that's going to kind of maintain the sort of the inertia of a move, or sort of the positional advantage of a move, where if that ball comes in late, like that advantage is lost, those kind of things. Like it seemed like there was a lot of willingness to play through balls quickly and advance it and break into those counter moments, and that was something that I really like to see from the get-go as well.
Another thing too that was evident from the beginning was Gantenbein in the attack. We were experienced with this with Bullet last year, jumping up in the play, mostly from the right back position. Gantenbein more of like a right winger type position, and he was jumping up in the play. You talk about the verticality. Obviously, the balls are going to Silla and Remmer, but Gantenbein trying to get behind the defense or getting linked up with the attack. Love seeing that. So, like, okay, offensively, he's engaged. I'm loving this. Early pressure in the game. I think it was inside the first 10 minutes. Pressure by us, forced a goalkeeper mistake, the turnover, kind of led to the shot what you talked about. And then you saw Antwi Ajay, it seems like he's this year's Paul Seguin in the sense of the set piece man, not only from the throw-ins, but also the any other set piece on the pitch. Had this long throw-in into the box, caused chaos for the attack. Defensively, you saw Timo Becker from the beginning shoulder check an attacker, knocks him off the ball. The crowd got pumped up for that. Love seeing that. We haven't seen a defender be strong like that in a long time, Jack. Probably since the Aldo days, maybe.
Well, and look, I think some of this might be game to game in terms of how individual refs call these things, because there were a number of like pretty physical challenges that were made early on that like the ref was fine with, which set the tone. I love that our defense is approaching things that way. We might have to be careful. Actually, I think we are going to have to be careful, because the only person in our back line that didn't receive a yellow card is Becker, Vitaly Becker. Everybody else, including our goalkeeper, had a yellow card, and of course, we'll get to what happens at Katic later. So we may need to chill. I think there was a total of 7 or 8 yellow cards that were doled out week 1. So maybe that physicality is going to be reined in a bit. But sorry, continue. Yeah, I love to see that.
Yeah, and I think that's also emblematic of Muslic's style of play. He wants you to be hard and physical, toe that line, get a yellow card, and then you kind of back off. Not everyone got that memo apparently, but majority of the team did get a yellow, it seemed like, in the game. And so, like, you love the pressing early on and challenging plays. You talk about the verticality. And one play in particular that led to the opening goal, Karius deep ball into the box, and Hertha's trying to clear the best they can. Gantenbein, Johnny on the spot, catches a loose ball, quick pass to Remmer, and Remmer with an intentionally or unintentionally, I'm going to say it's intentionally, excellent first touch, and then beats his man for pace. And I was like, where is this pace coming from? Like, I want him in my lineup. He's going to have that kind of pace. Beats his man, goes down. Initially, I'm screaming penalty. Heads up by the youngster to stay composed in the play, seeing that the referee's not going to call it. Sees his open man, Silla, feeds it over to him, and Silla puts it away. First goal of the season. Great way to start the season. Gantenbein, credit to Karius, Gantenbein, Remmer, and obviously Silla for putting it away. Great way to start the season there.
Absolutely. And so, look, first of all, I don't think Gantenbein super impressed me overall today, but what I will agree with is the things that you're mentioning in terms of in possession. He actually did have a few nice moments in terms of quick outlet passes, being contributing to possession in the final third and attacking moments or transitional moments. This was one of them, because he played that initial ball into Remmer that Remmer then took into the box. To me that looked like a huge dive by Remmer, honestly, because I think like the contact to me kind of looked like 50-50 that he initiated it just as much as the defender, and then after they kind of broke up, then he kind of did like like the thing where the legs lock up together and he just kind of like falls like a salmon in a stream. But anyway, as you said, ref doesn't blow the whistle, play still live, and while he's on the ground, he's able to pick out Still essentially who puts it away real quick, and the Veltman's Arena explored. We have somebody in the chat who obviously was there on Friday. Can't tell you how jealous I am. I hope I get to experience the Veltman's Arena at some point before I die, because once again, just the atmosphere was coming through on the screen. At least it doesn't always come through on broadcast. It certainly did on Friday. It seemed incredible. So I can't imagine what that moment was like when Schalke took the lead. You love Timo Becker front and center in the celebrations, just freaking out. You need somebody who's just rabidly Schalke at all times. You need at least one guy. So it's great that we have him back, independent of what he can provide to the defense, just to have that sort of motivational person who actually cares about the club and its survival. It was great. Cool moment. Love to get the lead that early in the season. Super great.
And the fact that the two most hyped guys on our team are Timo Becker and Keenan Karaman, that's going to be a lot for us, I think, and especially in times get difficult. Those are two guys we're going to have to lean on for that kind of motivation. But you love seeing that. I'm with you. Initially, I thought that was a penalty, and then you see the replay, and you're like, yeah, it's a little bit of a dive there. But heads up by him, because referee was right there. He saw the referee's not going to call it, and it kept the play and found Silla. So opening goal there. Off the kickoff, Silla nearly scored again right off of that. Hertha, as you imagine, kind of jumped back into it. Karius made a nice, strong save, low ball. Those are difficult plays down a corral, but he did a good job on that, I thought. Overall, first 20 minutes, I thought it was a strong opening 20 minutes. I think the Hertha manager said he felt the first 20 minutes his team did well, but I thought we were much better in the first 20 minutes. I thought what was also evident in the first 20 minutes is that we were countering very fast with the verticality you talked about. Love seeing that.
Yeah, but also once again, not only doing it through aerial balls or just sort of hoofed, balls into certain areas that are 50-50. It was intentional, possession at times. I'm looking forward to trying to rewatch some of these matches just so I can get a better sense of what some of the triggers may be and whatnot as well. But also there are a lot of moments where off of throw-ins or sometimes goal kicks, if they were played short, where there was a lot of kind of full field pressure from Schalke as well, tracking down the ball carriers, trying to force them into long balls early into their possession. It's always positive. I mean, this is such a silly baseline thing, but it's always positive early into a coach's tenure where you're able to watch the screen and actually ascertain that there's structure. The positioning of players seems to be informed to some degree by the other players on their team. Imagine that, and some sense of organization and what they're trying to achieve collectively. That was great to see. So even stuff like that in the first 20 minutes as well was also already kind of popping off the screen.
Yeah, I didn't do my analysis fast enough where I was going to do it in this pod, but I'll do a separate video where I kind of analyze the attacking tactics and defensive tactics by Muslic, breaking down kind of how we thought and how it ended up being in at least the first game. And so it's very interesting to watch that. But yeah, I'm excited to watch more of these games now that they're on demand. And see more of the game, and really, because it's hard when you're just watching live and trying to analyze it on the spot, and limited replays that we get, even highlights, it's limited. This is gonna be so much better this season, hopefully. But yeah, the first 20 minutes were good. We continue to be aggressive early in the game. A good combination work you saw between, I think it was Gantenbein, Remmer, and Silla. Silla gets a shot off. I believe it was Silla got a shot off. Ended up being saved by the goalkeeper. Leads to a corner kick. It was a foul top of the box. Aj takes a free kick. Save. He's a set-piece guy. Gets saved. Goes to automatic corner kick. On that ensuing corner kick, ball goes into the box, and Nikola Katic, near post run, gets a header on it, out jumps his mark, and scores the goal. And then the whole team celebrates. Timo Becker and everyone goes celebrates again. Love seeing that 2-0 in the first 25 minutes of the game. Excellent start to the start. Yeah,
as you said, the free kick that wins us the corner comes off the result of a very quick counterattack. Aj was deep in our half on that one. Did kind of a looping chip pass, I think, to Becker or somebody else that kind of launched that entire thing. Super inventive. And then Ajay's the guy, obviously delivering the corner. Delicious, inviting ball hanging in the air. That kind of looked like a set-piece routine, too, in terms of organization. That seemed like there were several guys who were just solely picking so that he could run around the side of it and get to the front of that line. Yeah. Not trying to make too much of that, but, once again, that seemed like there's already been some things implemented that you can see visually in terms of that's a move they've reversed or whatever. That's good to see. Really good header. Leistner can't, affect it. And I want to shout out Aj as well in the first, because there were moments last season where you're oh, this guy looks like interesting and looks like he kind of has something about him, but it seemed like he was kind of just playing with a governor constantly on him, where he would just like didn't feel comfortable and really like always extend himself or do anything. In the first half in this game, he looked like an entirely different player, just like completely unleashed. Like I don't know if that's what it looks like when like a coach has confidence in a player and he feels it or something. Like I don't know if like he said, hey, go out and do your thing, or whatever the direction was, but like Ajay was all over the place. And yeah, part of that is because he has the set piece assignment, so he's popping up on those plays as well. But he was on like both ends of the field constantly, like involved in a lot of what we were doing. So I wanted to show him that I thought he was shockingly effective and somebody that I wasn't like counting on this season in terms of being a huge difference maker, just like another kind of like squad holdover from last year. But on the basis of this first game, I thought he was one of our stronger performers in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Pod Animation says, I think if a player holds back because of a possible yellow card, then he's going to have a one-on-one meeting with Muslic. So, maybe that's why he's, super aggressive and jumping all over the place. No, but great shout out there. I think Anthony Ajay fully deserved that. Absolutely. Something that will endear Schalke fans totally is when a player commits 100%, especially on the defensive end. And player that jumped out was Vitaly Becker, in particular, 28th minute, makes a great tackle to win the ball. You also saw Matic pocketing Fabian Riza all game long, early on and throughout the game until he vacated. But defensively, you saw those two guys really shutting down that left-hand side. And much of that continued again. Good chemistry between Vitaly Becker, El Fauzi, Antuyaje. Really good work on the left-hand side there. And then good combination play in the 40th minute where El Fauzi makes a beautiful backheel flick to Schallenberg. He finds Gantenbeim over to Remmert. And Remmert should have gotten the third goal there, right in front of the box, skied the ball. Should have been 3-0 before halftime there, but Remmert getting involved. All those players really just working really well, linking up together. It would have been a piece of resistance if he had scored that goal, but nonetheless, up 2-0 at halftime. I mean, love seeing all of that. You saw the offensive trademarks by Muslic in there, defensively discipline, like you talked about. Love the good, excellent first half.
Yeah. Look, certainly a painful miss from Remmert there. I think the thing you're excited about though, for generally, it's just like the more that players are in those kind of positions to score, the better that usually speaks of their effectiveness. So hopefully those kind of things will revert over the course of the season. But I kind of wish they had scored that goal. Obviously, it would have saved me, I think, some anxiety the final few minutes of that game in stoppage time, which we'll get to in a minute here. But on the basis of the first half, like very strong performance in front of the home crowd, coming out, going into halftime with a commanding 2-0 lead and getting that relatively early on, and not a lot of significant chances from Hertha in the first half that were particularly noteworthy. I think maybe like 3 shots total, something like that, and I don't think there were many big chances of any of those that were noteworthy. I think I remember Karius making one kind of like reaction save somewhat early in the match, kind of on the left side of his goal, and outside of that, I can't even really think of anything from the first half.
First half statistics, and you look at the numbers, 56% to 44% in favor of Hertha. You're like, oh my God, they would have dominated the first half. Shots, 10 shots for Schalke, 3 for Hertha Berlin, and those really weren't troubling at all for Karius, like you said. Fouls also in our favor. We had 2 yellow cards in the first half, and then off of the plethora more in the second half. I think the pressing, which everyone knows that Muslic likes to press, but Hertha had no answers for it in the first half. They had no answers in the second half. There was a play where they had a glimmer that kind of broke it. 57th minute, Karius makes a big save 1-on-1 against Fabian Riza. Ended up being offsides, but he didn't know it at the play. So it was a great play by Karius. And at the time, everything, as the game was progressing, it seemed like we had everything in control, up 2-0. But we know that's the most dangerous lead in sports, really, particularly soccer and hockey. And I just kept saying, we need a third goal. I wish the Remmert had scored that third goal just to give us a little bit more at ease. And games going on. We're starting to get some fouls, starting to get some cards involved. Still a good play overall. Katic gets a yellow card. And then shortly thereafter, silly second card, red card. Before that red card, I should say, and maybe this played a part into it. We had made some substitutions. The youngster, Murtkan Ayhan, came in. He's going to try to clear a ball, ends up kicking Katic in the head. busted up bleeding. Maybe that fogged his memory. He should have. I mean, he got a concussion. We'll talk about it after, but he got to stayed in the game. Ends up getting the second yellow card, a red card, and exit out of the game. They scored a goal. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, here we go again. 88 minutes of dominance, and all of a sudden, it's down to the last minutes. They had just scored a goal, it's an own goal, right? And then it's like, oh shit, here we go again, Jack.
What was that, an own goal?
I thought it was, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. I thought it was. I thought it deflected off his last, but maybe it wasn't.
I don't think. I thought Groningen like had like literally like a it was off his left foot, like back heel around the back into the goal. It was a ridiculous finish. Yeah, I thought it was like a phenomenal goal. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was deflected or something. It wasn't on target before the deflected. Yeah, look, I don't want to be like overly critical or anything. Like I understand you're making subs in the final couple minutes. I don't know if maybe we had an opportunity to make that sub off of like an offensive corner or some other out, but it seemed like we put in we replaced two defenders with like two of our younger defenders right before they were doing like a throw in their half, and like they just blitzed us, and it seemed like Bullet wasn't even in the game yet. Like he wasn't full out sprinting when he probably should have. He kind of reacted a little bit slowly to that, and he tried to get over there and cover that cutback and just couldn't get there in time. And then I don't know what happened to the other end, but I mean, really, really good finish, but disappointing to let that goal in late. And then, like you said, that gave them some momentum, and they had a number of opportunities in the final couple minutes there. We're in our final third a lot, and along with there being some, like you said, some sketchy encounters between either
Karius with a plunder. Oof, that was bad.
We had one where Ian, Karius came out with Ian as well. I was involved in a couple of those. So I mean, like, I was like, are you kidding me? We've been like rock solid for like 80 minutes, and now we let in one goal and stuff. And you could see there was funny. It was right after that moment with Ian. There was a close up on Karius as he was back in goal, and you could almost like see Will's turning his head like, oh god, not like this Schalke from last season again. That's gonna happen. So he was like panicking and things.
I know.
But obviously, spoiler alert. Nothing happened. We survived, but not before our new signing Katic picks up a suspension in match day 1. So that's unfortunate. But look, home victory against once again a big club, a club that's still projected to be on roughly the right end of the table this season, and doing so. I mean, no possession in the second half, and it was a little bit shakier at times, but like. The things we kind of knew about Muslic coming in, I think we saw a decent amount of that in the first game implemented right away, which is impressive in terms of obviously him having an identity and being able to communicate that identity to the team and get some level of buy-in off the bat. Huge result with a lot of eyes on us on the top spiel and great vibes going through the rest of the season. So happy to have been proven wrong with some of my negativity last week going into this match.
Yeah, Sticker says Karius looked so nervous, absolutely. And then should Karius have stopped that goal? We need a league goalkeeper to be a top table team. We need elite level for Zweite for sure. I mean it's a classy finish if that's how it was. It was it's short side, so maybe he should have, but he made some saves earlier on in the game. So we'll see how the season progresses. A goalie is allowed a yip here and there, but not significantly frequently like we've seen in the past with most of our goalkeepers. Overall, spoiler alert for those who watched our YouTube, I gave out my 4 takeaways from the game, Jack, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. Not on my takeaways, but also just your 4 takeaways. I thought Tempelmann played really well. It was unexpected for me. That's why I probably liking it so much, because in the attack and the defensive end was not the liability I thought he was going to be. Nikola Katic, I thought Gordie Howe hat-trick, as Ryan said in the Discord, with a goal, cut up in the head like a fight, and then gets a red card too. Did everything. Only reason he wasn't man of the match is because he got the red card, right? Remmert, I thought, was very strong in the game. Physical, unexpected speed, good heads up on the assist. Should have got the goal there in the first half. And then my man of the match, and this is maybe why I want to hear your thoughts, Vitaly Becker. I thought that the defensive work he did, shutting down that left-hand side, great tackle after great tackle, hyping up the crowds, what the crowd loves to see, right? That's that kind of effort. Nothing came from that left-hand side. And Vitaly Becker is a big reason for that, I think. And I think he's my man of the match. What are your thoughts? What are your 4 takeaways in the game?
Hey, look, you're not going to get me to argue with giving the man of the match to, somebody who's been at the club for the better part of a decade, making his debut and immediately popping in and being very impactful. So I love that shout. Um, I'm not quite as high on Gantabine as you. I still think he is likely to be the weak link in that entire back part of our team. But I will agree that I thought that he was better than I expected and better than we saw from him last season in this game. So if this performance is the new floor for Gantenbein, then I think he goes from being a liability to like an okay serviceable part of the squad. I'm still worried about him defensively a little bit, but like had better, possessional contribution to this game, I think. So I'm fine with that. Yeah, Remmert, I liked. I was high on him when we purchased him and didn't get a lot of opportunities last season, but like I think he has a lot of potential. I already talked about Ajay. I thought he was super impactful and looked kind of like a different player. I do want to shout out. Somebody just mentioned him in the chat a second ago and was looking for our thoughts on him. You're about to get my thoughts on him. El Fayouzi, super industrious, covers a lot of ground. Absolute pest, absolute the speed with which he can get to ground at like full extension and get in there and like do like a slide tackle or ground tackle is ridiculous. Like that is a legitimate like pops off the screen skill that he has like defensively. Once again, concerned about. I'm surprised he didn't get a yellow card. How did he not get a yellow card in this match? Everyone got a yellow card. I don't know how he didn't. I'm worried about his discipline over the course of the season, his availability as a result, just because I feel like he's physical. He had some harsh challenges early in the game too that he didn't get cards for or anything. We talked about some of that being allowed, but I thought Fawzi was great and a good foil for Schallenberg. Schallenberg a little bit more positionally limited in terms of the coverage and everything, but a very solid figure, and Fawzi a little bit more marauding and was an absolute pest. So I think those are kind of my main takeaways. I didn't think Sanchez was like amazing in this game, but like I think it's great that we're seeing him, and he was part of the back three and didn't really look like a liability at all. I thought he did a good job as well.
We didn't mention him.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's a good thing.
Big match for him too. Once again, top spiel against Hertha Berlin. Like, hey, you're in the starting 11. You didn't play almost at all last season, and he was in there and did fine for the most part. So, I'm really looking forward to that Fawzi Schallenberg pairing if that becomes a thing this season. I'm interested to see how that develops and what their chemistry looks like as time goes on. Last thing I want to say real quick, dude, Musasilla. Like I know that goal was mostly Renner in terms of the opportunity creation and like the heads up play when he's on the ground and getting that, but like it's your marquee striker, 15 minutes in the game, being in the right spot, finishing it immediately. I want to say the majority, it was like probably like 4 of his 6 or maybe like 6 of his 8 shots were on target in this game, so he was accurate with the opportunities that he had. And I just love to see that, like getting off the mark, having that confidence, game one. It's good to see for your striker, getting on the board early. Hopefully when Karaman gets back in the lineup, he's able to do something similar. And, hoping for more double-digit performances from Silla this year.
Just because he's a star striker, he's not always going to have the fantastic goals, right? Simon Torodo, when he had 31 goals for us several years ago, 25 of them were just like that, just right place, right time. And maybe a couple of them were fantastic, but for the most part, he's just Johnny on the spot, doing what he's supposed to be doing. That's what you've seen with Silla. So if he can keep that up, absolutely. And I agree with everything you said about Alpha Auzi. I thought he's going to be fun to watch this year. The pace that he can transition the ball from defense to attack, then find the open pass and do the little cheeky little backheel pass or whatever to free up the counterattack. It's going to be fun to watch. I had the same concerns as you do. But also, I'm going to shout out, I'm going to bring up a name, not the dreaded one you hate, but maybe the second one you hate, Weltklasse Max Meyer. Why did I bring him up? Because when he was good for us, the rare times in his defensive holding position, we rarely said his name, and that means he was doing an excellent job. In this game, Schallenberg, we barely said his name because he was doing a hell of a job, in that game, both offensively and defensively. He was just so smooth and so quiet, really wasn't a liability to me, and so I love what Schallenberg did, and I'm excited for this. Or if Gruger gets in there, it'll be a good headache once Karaman comes back healthy, who was injured in this game. He should be back hopefully by next game. They didn't want to rush him in this game, and if Muslic is this what he saw in practice, I can see why he didn't rush him in there. So when he comes in, who sits? Is it Andre Ajay? Who is it? It'll be a good dilemma to have, I think. And I think if we can have more than 11 players that are ready to fight in this game, like and Gruger as well, and some of these other guys, this is gonna be only better for us for this season.
Look, we got to look at basically like three new arrivals in our back three. And I'm like Sanchez is not a new arrival, but I'm kind of considering him that way, which once again just because of like how limited his involvement was last season. And I talked about like, hey, maybe we need reinforcements there. We did go out. I don't want to jump the gun. We did go out and get a reinforcement in terms of center back. Somebody that we're somewhat familiar with, not close, but from Braunschweig in the past. And also when you consider that we have Ion and Bullet on the bench and available too, feeling slightly better about that situation after match day one. Obviously, need to see a few more matches to see how we go up against some other opponents as well. But that's promising in terms of the depth and whatnot.
Yeah. Result of the game. Obviously, we know we won 2-1, but Katic was confirmed that he got a concussion after the game. Unfortunately, him. So timing wise is good because he does have to sit out for suspension due to the red cards, and we'll see who steps up in his place. But hopefully, he recovers quickly. Concussions are a tricky thing, and so hopefully, it's just something he can recover quickly, and it's not something that's going to plague him all season long. But because he seems like the kind of defender we want to have at the season. It's strong, aggressive, physical, and can get up there and attack as well. Digler says loved the energy in the first half. The second half wasn't great, but overall aggressive, and I agree with all of that. Three of our players, but I'll do the German one. Three players made it into the kicker 11. You have Remmert in attack, Schallenberg in the midfield, and Katic in the back. I have no disagreements with any of those. Jack, thoughts on those three making the kicker 11?
I love it. I don't disagree necessarily with any of those. And once again, the fact that we're that well represented. The only team, I think maybe Bielefeld had a couple in there, potentially Schneider and Korwas. But outside of that, the only team with more than one person represented, we had three of them. The most represented team in week one. I mean, don't want to make too much of that, but I think it speaks to the number of good performances we had. It's not just, once again, you can look at a result sometimes like 2-1 result. What does that mean? But it was generally a strong performance and a lot of individual performances that were impressive as well along with that. So great start to the season.
Don't want to jump the gun too much here, but you mentioned we got a new defender. His name is Hassan Kurasai, and we'll see what it should add much needed depth for us. It'll be will be interesting to see who Muslic rolls out here in the next game against Kaiserslautern. Hey, anytime we get some depth, I'm going to take Baumann and company, knowing what they're doing so far, so good. It's still very early. We know this. We saw last year. We know what happened. So let's pump the brakes a little bit, but I'm excited what this brings because it's immediate, as you mentioned, immediate impact you see from the coach and his philosophies into the team. Excited. So not everything was peaches, though. We win the game. You think everyone's going to be happy, but no. Transition, of course, Sport 1 and Vaz, they all decided to complain about something. I guess they had nothing to complain about. And one of those was Myron Muslic. And I'll play the video while I talk here, but essentially, you'll see on the screen Myron Muslic walking over to the crowd and acknowledging Nordkurv. The way Sport 1 and Vaz said is like, oh, he's being selfish. He's doing this all for himself. He didn't want to be with the team, yada, yada, yada. It's like, this is a non-issue for me, Jack. No one there had any issue with this. The crowd obviously fed it. I play the sound. You hear the crowd cheering for him. This is a non-issue. They want something to complain about because the team's doing well at the moment, and this is what they pick.
Is it possible that we could go on YouTube and in 45 seconds probably find footage of Domenico Tedesco doing something similar?
Yes, guaranteed.
And that's a beloved figure of show. I mean, I agree. What are we talking about? I could not care less.
Just find
nothing more to say. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, exactly. So it's a non-issue, but a potential issue is this coming Saturday, Kaiserslautern, 2:30 Eastern time. They just lost to Hanover. We'll see the new Anfang-less era of Kaiserslautern. How will they do? You got to pay attention to this. This is a little bit of a gauntlet for us to start the season.
They were a problem last year, but it's going to be very interesting to see what this team looks like this year compared to last year, as you said. But they were weird last year for sure. They were trouble. Yeah,
everyone in the chat's pissed off about the whole non-reporting. Game this weekend. I just want to see a repeat performance of what we did. I really don't care about Kaiser. I think if we played the way we did, pressure like the way we did, most teams, if not all teams, are going to struggle with that press. Sure, there's some teams that can pass in this league and they can figure their way out of this. I don't know if Kaiserslautern is one of those teams. So if you put pressure on them early, maybe more good things will happen. Hopefully, we can figure out the defensive issues and build on that, and we'll see how they implement Karaman in this. But I just want to see more, Jack. I don't really have a prediction, but I just want to see more of what we did. Consistency, which we have not seen in years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as I said earlier, whenever you're able to see a coach like at least translating some of his ideas that effectively that early, I think it's a good sign. Yeah. There's been so many different managers that we've had over the revolving door of the past, 5-7 years even, where they come in and you can't really tell from looking at individual snapshots like what the structure is supposed to be, what the plan is at individual moments, and so very good first start. Looking to see more of the squad, if there's rotations or if this is going to be once again, kind of very close to what his anticipated starting 11 is all the time. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. A little bit concerned about the discipline once again, the number of yellow cards, that sort of thing, but hugely positive beginning of the season under a new regime. I think my biggest criticism in our pre-match or preseason kind of kickoff pod was I'm not sure there's enough been done to the squad to really turn things around. I mean, do I think that like an improvement in coaching can get more out of the team that we had last year? Yeah. Did I think that's going to be taking us from 14th, 15th position or whatever it is to like, potentially top 3 or something? No, I would think there would have to be more investment and more overhaul in the squad. Yep. Match day 1, very early, but like, pretty good stuff. I already talked about Ajay being a completely different player. If that's going to be some of the Gantenbein you said was improved. If that's how different players are going to look under this new regime that looked very different last year, that's going to change obviously my appraisal of what the team we are working with is. So looking forward to the Kaiserslautern game for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Secretary, to answer your question, no, I did not see the game by Kaiserslautern, but I did see the statistic. Didn't look great, but I want to definitely put eyes on it before this weekend so I can kind of get a better sense of what they're like. So, all right, that'll wrap this one up. Victory Monday, fun. Ran a little long, but hey, it's our first victory, and it feels like forever. So we had to celebrate here. We backpedaled our way to the end of the season last year. So excited. Hopefully see more of this. And man, just excited. The hype is there for everyone, I think. Moose is already becoming a fan favorite on that level, almost up to Dusko, like in the beginnings. I'm not talking about the end of it. The beginnings of he has that sense of connection. He's clapping back at the media as well. I didn't mention this, but on his own Instagram, he posted a video of that clip and kind of took a jibe back at Vaz and Sport 1. So he loves seeing that. The fans are going to love that as well. So, all right, Jack, pod's done. Hopefully you can repeat this next week. Anything to close us out, or where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMangan on X/Twitter, as is the case for Schalke and the Chicago Bears basically every year. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Not super optimistic going into this one. Very impressed with the start. Looking forward to more under Kaiserslautern. Good to be back with you on Victory Monday, sir. Great start to the season.
Absolutely. You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. Yeah, excited for the season. Long one at that, but at least ESPN Plus we think will be there with us along every step of the way. If not, we'll be talking to Derek, right? All right, everyone. Everyone who's in the chat tonight, shout out to every one of you. Make sure if you haven't done so yet, I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, subscribe both on YouTube and Twitch. Videos will pop up here and there, all across social media. Follow us. More importantly, follow Schalke America everywhere. We will be back with next podcast. Probably next week this time, and maybe we'll see some videos pop up of pre-match review and preview and review of the game. So stay tuned for that on our socials. And then until then, enjoy the week. Hopefully the weather's nice where you are, and we'll catch you guys soon. Glück auf.